Janet Muthoni Ouma.
Yeah.
Very good evening to you and welcome to Ouko.
Yeah.
My apologies.
No problem.
We will also be getting in touch with the police spokesman, who is Masud Munyu, who is at our I&M studios. And in fact, we'll start with Mr. Munyu. Mr. Munyu, I don't know whether you can hear me. A very good evening. Let's start with you. Could you explain to us the circumstances under which the police ended up tear gassing the children?
Yeah, thank you. I can hear very well. I can hear you very well. And allow me first and foremost to also express our sadness at this very unfortunate incident. And I think we all saw what happened. There was the demonstration, which was, of course, occasioned by the allegation that a landment of the school had been grabbed. One, we must understand that this demonstration was called for without proper procedures being followed. For instance, we have, of course, the requirement that there must be a formal request to hold any demonstrations. This is in the interest of the demonstrators themselves, because the police has to be aware so that they can also facilitate proper security arrangements for the demonstrators, as well as other persons who may have nothing to do with the demonstration.
So,
nonetheless, this demonstration went ahead, and we as the police were on the ground to ensure that all went well.
How did
So what instructions were given to the police officers who were sent to the scene?
Key for the officers was to ensure that there was tranquility, safety was observed, and that demonstrators were not going to be rowdy, and neither would they engage in anything outside what they had gone there to do. For instance, even as this was happening, we were able to arrest a number of persons who were engaged in other aspects of criminality. And this is something we always keep on saying. You cannot rule opportunists who may want to take advantage of such things. And that's why police always have to be there. But again, what turned out today was quite unfortunate. And I think you have all seen the action that we have taken as a way of saying we are not also not supporting what happened. We must understand that there are limitations which we have to observe. Even though, again, the officers were at fault, it is not yet confirmed. Investigations have immediately been launched. Even as we suspend the command of the operation, the investigations will clearly bring out what happened and who is to blame. And then, again, further action will be taken. This, again, notwithstanding, however, we must also not fail to point out that the people who organized this demonstration, had they the best interest of Kenyans at heart? What was the point of them involving children in demonstrations? Because you may want to pass on a very good point, but the modes you use may be very, very wrong. And we are blaming them for involving children in demonstrations.
Mr. Munyu, let's bring in an education expert, Janet. The police say that this demonstration was not organized, did not follow the rules which govern demonstrations in this country. So who was on the wrong here? Is it the police for tear gassing the children, or is it the children for engaging in demonstrations?
Oh, wow, thank you. Thank you very much for having me in studio. And I think it has to be said very clearly that the act by the police must be condemned, whether the children were right or wrong. I think it is very unacceptable to use the amount of force that was used on these minors, especially given that they were really harmless. And probably one of the questions I would want him to answer is, for example, what harm or what manner of danger did the police foresee for them so that they could use such amounts of force?
Claiming that the pupils were throwing stones at them.
Yeah, I think we know that this now brings out some key issues. In this country, children's rights are very much disrespected, because if for example, what we are talking about here, the children were already in school and they were in their playing ground. It's not like they trespassed on someone's land or something. They were in their playing ground, and even if they were rowdy or something like that, there's other child-friendly ways that the police can use to restrain these minors.
These ways that the police could have used. What
for
was
example,
the alternative here?
The issue here, when they were going to the field, it is very clear. These children, their land has been grabbed, so they are already bitter. So, for example, I'm looking at the issues of police wanting to sort of convince the children that something is being done. Yes, we are looking into this issue. There's a lot, because these children, it's not acceptable that as adults, we sit back and just imagine, because there is machinery such as police, there is machinery such as politicians, children cannot actually rise up and speak about their rights. In the Children's Act, for example, it is allowed to involve children in matters that concern them. And I doubt there is a matter that concerns children more than their own school.
Let's raise some of the issues with Mr. Mwinyi. Yeah. Bwana Mwinyi, were the lives of the officers who were on the scene in danger, which would have prompted them to use such force on the children? Were the lives of the police in danger?
Unfortunately, they were not. The lives were not in danger. But you will see clearly that the lives of the children were in jeopardy. Look at the crumbling walls, and look at who was guiding them. What would have happened, assuming the wall might have maybe fallen on some of these children? So as much as the lives of the officers were not in danger, but we should not also fail to look at the other side of the coin. And that is why we are admitting that there was use of force which was not commensurate with what was happening on the ground. But again, every side of the coin has to be looked into. We are taking action, strong action on our officers once we finish our investigations, but we are saying, who organized this? Where are we taking our country if we are now taking children into demonstrations? We have institutions in this country. We must respect these institutions. The National Land Commission, the Minister of Land, all these had the matter in their desks, and they were looking at it. Had we exhausted every machinery for us to go into the streets, particularly with our children?
So what does the law provide on, Mr. Mwinyi, before we let you go, what does the law provide in terms of officers, how officers, police officers handle minors, before we bring in Madam Janet?
Well, children are children, and it is assumed that a child cannot do any harm to anybody, particularly an adult. But again, we have had instances where injuries or death has been caused by children. We're not saying that our children are that bad, but remember, when we are looking at issues or matters of security, we cannot take anything chance. We are saying that our priority is to safeguard the life, the well-being, and the health of the child. But again, even as we do that, we should not fail to consider other considerations and ensure that we do the right thing, we follow the law has to be respected. Either a party has to ensure that they respect the law, either way.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Mwinyi. Muthoni, your very last question. Are you satisfied with the suspension of the Langata OCPD over this incident?
No, I think for us the question is even more longer term, because the suspension of the officer and the non-reinstatement of the land belonging to the school, definitely we are looking at more confrontations even in the future. And looking at how Nairobi is shaping up, this is only one of the schools. I can assure you there are about 80 schools that are lined up for this kind of activities, because the government is also not very proactive in ensuring that the land belonging to schools is safeguarded. For example, why do schools that have lasted on that land for over 70, 50 or 20 years, why don't they have title deed? Yet the private developer has got a title deed. Where did they get it from? And I think it's becoming very disturbing, because as adults, the messages, looking at the messages the minors are carrying, I think it's shaming us, the adults, because we cannot protect their rights. So the children have to go out there and defend for themselves, because they too have their rights enshrined in the Constitution. So I think the adults will really let the children down. And the machinery, like what he's trying to say here, the officer is saying, yes, we have all let them down. For example, look at a wall. It was already erected there, and nobody, even including the same officers whose work is to protect property, where were they not to protect the property of the school? So that now they are coming to protect a wall that is a symbol of land grabbing in the first place. Yeah, so those are some of the issues that moving forward we want to see. We want to see the land reinstated, and also challenging the government. Can every school have its title deed? Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Madam Janet. Thank you very much, Mr. Mwinyi, for joining us tonight. As you've heard, we as the adults are letting our children down on some of these issues, and again the police saying that this was an unfortunate act that should not be repeated in the future, and the police say that they are still investigating that incident. Back to you, Nancy.